key to be able to steer the boat at all times, but particularly when you're sailing close haul, right? So the skipper, the driver of the boat, needs to watch those telltales because they are indicating whether you are sailing your optimal close hauled angle or not. Okay, so if you head up too much, as Mackie said, if you're pinching, right? So the word is pinching. So that means equals you're sailing too close to the wind. Too close to the wind. Or heading up too much. Too much. So if you start to head up too much, your first indicator is that inner telltale. That'll start to point up like that. If you keep heading up too much, so if you don't do anything to fix this and you just keep heading up, what is the next indicator? What are you going to see next? What's going to happen next if I keep heading up? Luciano?
The sail will bubble.
The sail will start to bubble, exactly, right? Sail's going to start to bubble, the sail's going to start to luff. So if it gets to that point, right, that means that now I'm starting to actually slow down the boat because the sail itself is starting to luff. If I notice that I'm heading up too much before the sail bubbles, and I'm just noticing that the inner telltale is starting to point up, then that's when I want to fix it, right? Ideally, I want to fix it before I head up to the point where the sail itself starts to bubble and luff. Okay, and then, so how do I fix this? We determined that this means that I'm heading up too much, so what do I do?
Head down.
Head down until what? Until the telltales are parallel again, and then what do I do?
Slightly cut up again.
I bring the tiller back. I stop turning, right? I stop. So I head down just until that inner telltale now goes parallel again. And then I bring the tiller back to the middle, or if I think I oversteer it a little bit, Angela, you're right. Maybe I have to head up a touch, right, just to get myself back to that inner telltale going parallel again. Okay, so does that make sense? Okay, now you have the other example, right, or the other thing that could happen, which is the outer telltale points down. Realistically, what probably happens here when the outer telltale points down, the inner one starts to point down a little bit too. They both start to get a little bit, but the outer one definitely points down a lot. So if the outer no longer parallel, what does that mean? So the outer one points down.
That means you're pointing towards downwind.
Yes, that means I'm heading down too much. Okay, that means I'm not pointing close enough to the wind. Why do you think that that's happening? So this means I'm heading down too much. What is the, what's the word for that? Yeah, I guess there's a word for that. There's a word for that. Anyone know what the word for that is? It's not like, I mean, it kind of is, but we'll just use this word anyway because it's a good word to know. Footing. So pinching means you're heading up too high. Footing means you're heading down lower than your optimal close haul course. So why does it make sense, if you really think about it, that if you're heading down too much, that your outer telltale would be just drooping and pointing down? if you think about it. So if it's pointing down, that means what's not happening. Yeah, what?
So I assume it's because like you're catching more wind on the windward side than the leeward side. So the windward is going parallel or whatever it's doing, but
Uh-huh.
the leeward is not getting any air basically.
100%, exactly. That means that the leeward side, because of the sail trim, right? Because we're still at our close hauled trim, if I head down too much, that back side of the sail is essentially blocked off from wind hitting it. And so there isn't then wind to make that outer telltale go parallel. There's no wind hitting it, so it just hangs there, right? And so if it just hangs there, that means I'm heading down too much. So to fix that, I'm going to
Head up.
and I'm going to head up until that outer telltale goes parallel again. Okay? So that is close hauled, right? How I am using my telltales. So when I'm sailing close hauled, I'm adjusting. So adjusting my steering, not the trim. Okay? I'm adjusting my steering to get the telltales to be parallel, not the trim of the jib. I'm keeping the jib trimmed in to where it needs to be. Okay? If I'm not going close hauled, so I'm heading down off the wind. So for example, we're heading down around the windward mark, right? So we were close hauled, but now we get to our windward mark and we're gonna start to head down, right? So as I head down, what I need to do is I need to adjust the trim to the steering. Meaning I'm starting to steer the boat away from the wind. So because I'm changing the steering, because I'm changing the direction of the boat, I need to adjust the sail trim accordingly. So if I was sailing close hauled and then I started to head down and now I'm pointing this way, right? Wind's still coming from here, so now I'm no longer going close hauled, I'm kind of like on a reach. And if I kept my jib all the way trimmed in at my close hauled position, what would the telltales look like? If I was sailing on a reach here, and I had my jib still trimmed in all the way, would the telltales look like this, or would they look like something else? Would they look good? Like, would it indicate to me that my jib is trimmed properly, or not?
The telltales would be sad.
They would be sad. Correct. They would be very sad.
Yes.
They would look like. They would look like that, right? That one would be pointing down. This one would also, the outer one would also be pointing down. They would look sad. How do I make them happy? How do I make them unsad? What do I do? Yes, Tommy.
Let up the sail.
Ease the sail. Correct. Ease the sail until the telltales go parallel again. So, on the FJ and even on the the 420s, like the E420s that Stern School has that we sail on sometimes. It's parallel again. Sometimes it's difficult for the crew to have a constant view of the jib when you're sitting in the boat, right? So if it's lighter wind, right, and you're sitting in the boat, you're sitting backwards, right? So it's hard to have a constant look at the jib because you're kind of just like, try to crane your head around looking like that. So in that case, right, sometimes it's definitely helpful for